Yep, start.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome once again to the Lovecraft read-along. And this week we've been reading The Curse of Yig.
And this week Rina's back from the asylum.
Yeah, Rina's back from the asylum. She was gibbering and she got away from her straitjacket. They let her out to investigate another Lovecraftian tale, and it's the Curse of Yig.
Therapy sessions. That's it. I just gotta go talk about it to somebody for a while. And
yeah,
then come back.
exactly.
And they weren't supervising her, and she just went through the window. The window.
Yeah, the window. Yeah, something like that.
It's gonna be our inside joke now. The window.
There's even a window referenced in this one. I'm like,
there is a window, and there's an asylum, of course, as well.
Yeah, but not a high window in this case. Man, this was something, wasn't it?
Did you enjoy it?
It really was.
Yeah, I gotta say, I enjoyed it even more than Cthulhu.
Okay, cool. I didn't mind this one. It was a pretty decent one. But who wants that? I said I'd let Rina do the synopsis this week. We'll let her talk us through the story. So you want to start us off?
Yeah,
I'm
terrible with names though, so I'm just pulling it up so I don't butcher this guy's name. Because this time we're actually introduced. I mean, it's first person as always, Lovecraft as it goes. But I think we actually give. I thought
this time we have information about our narrator, who's an Indian American ethnologist. Ethnologist.
Was he Indian American?
Yeah, it said Indian American.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's. I actually wrote myself a summary.
My work is an American Indian ethnologist.
I don't think American Indian ethnologist. I don't think American Indian is his his race or whatever. I think he's talking about he's an ethnologist, American Indian research. He's not. I don't think he's talking about himself being an American Indian. I think he just meant he was an ethnologist.
Well, that's what he said, and that's what I wrote.
Yeah. But that's the impression I got. Anyways, he's studying American Indian. I don't know what is ethnology. I don't know what ethnology is. Is it to do with myths and legends? I'm guessing. Or is it to do with...
I assume it's from the area he was in, or his...
I'm not sure.
I need to look that up.
I thought it was an ethnicity, or I figured it was maybe where he was born.
Too. But I think it's just
an Indian American. Did they mean Indian, from India, or the Native Americans?
Native Americans, but they didn't call them Native Americans. They called them Indians in the days before calling them Native American. Yeah, it's just the characteristics of different people and the differences and relationships between them is what an ethnologist does. So that's what he was studying. He was studying the Americans and the American native people and the differences kind of thing. And he starts off. He gets some right in 1925. He's learning snake law, and he's trying to find out the origins of Quetzalcoatl.
And he leaves with the fear of snakes.
Yeah,
I don't like snakes as it is to begin with. So reading the first line, I was like, "Oh, great!" Everything.
I actually had snakes on my neck a few times, small ones.
Right.
It's quite pleasant. It's actually quite pleasant. They're so cool on the skin.
It's like a massage, like a neck massage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not slimy snakes, are they? They're quite smooth. They're quite beautiful in their way, actually, snakes. But I wouldn't want a massive one climbing over me, or I wouldn't want to go near any poisonous ones or anything.
I've come across a couple of rattlers in my time, so I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Occasionally we get one garden snake, and I'm like, okay, I can live with you being here, but rattlers, no thanks.
Stay away. Thank you very much. I don't blame you. So this is a little bit.
At least this time our narrator has more of a personality again.
We know his job.
Right.
We didn't get his name though, did we? We didn't get his name still. I don't think
Not really.
I mentioned his name, but I was so wrong. Yeah, I don't see his name anymore.
Yeah. No, I didn't notice it, but we
Nameless
got the name
narrator was an ethnologist, so we know that.
Yeah, studying American.
And we know he's afraid of snakes.
Well, he ends up afraid of snakes.
Yeah.
So in his dally, in his kind of trying to find out about Quetzalcoatl and the legend of him and where he sort of the origins came from, that kind of thing. He finds out about the snake god Yig, doesn't he? And
Yig.
Yig.
What a name!
People are kind of like
anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's not.
Yig.
It's a lot easier to say than Quetzalcoatl. Anyway, it's a lot easier to
Sounds
say.
like a really vegan, untasty frozen yogurt.
Yeah.
Yig.
Try some tasty Yig. Yeah.
Sounds like a very nasty beer.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe. I could go for a Yig right now. Actually, thinking about it. Nice pint of Yig.
I don't know. When I hear Yig, I for some reason think of yeast infection.
It does sound a little bit like an exclamation of disgust. Yig.
Yeah.
So he ends up it seems like the people aren't that willing to talk about it. There's a couple of people who sort of reference someone in an asylum or something about it. So he's gone to this asylum in Guthrie to talk to Dr. McNeil. Is it Oklahoma, was it?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned
Oklahoma. Oh, wait, before that, he goes around in this town and asks all the people.
Yeah, so I was But say a lot of them didn't want to say too much about it, did they? A lot of them didn't say too much about it, but a couple of them suggested that he goes
they're all whispering. They were afraid to tell him, and then they pointed him towards the asylum. Again, an asylum.
So what happens?
It's amazing how much asylums revolved in Lovecraft's mind all the time in his stories.
Definitely. Well, you think about his father ended up in an asylum, didn't his mum end up in an asylum as well?
Yeah.
It's must be something that played on his mind a lot. I'm assuming. And you think of quite a lot of his stories come from his dreams, and you kind of think, how close was he to being a bit on the screwy side himself? You know, what surprised me. So, what happened in the asylum then? Spacebunzz.
So in the asylum, he talks to the doctor, Dr. McNeil. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, McNeil.
And
Dr. McNeil.
He's like the head of the asylum, and I'm not exactly remembering, like, did he tell him right off the bat, like, I have something weird?
After he read his recommendations and saw that he deserved to know for all the research he did, he told him, come with me, I'll show you something first, and then I'll tell you the story.
Yeah.
She tells him it's only a story, and it's what I pieced together after hearing a bunch of things myself.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. Like, we've got their thing about the investigators. So he's gone to do some investigation about something else, found out something and he's gone off on this tangent, and he's come across somebody else, the doctor, who's done his own investigations. So it's kind of like an investigation, and it's like going back to that thing from the Call of Cthulhu, where like if you know all the facts, you might make you go mad. So people find out more facts as they go along, and like piecing separate strands together, and that's when they go, oh, I know too much now. I feel a bit. Anyway, what he shows him a kind of humanoid snake-looking thing, doesn't he? He goes basically to a cell. He opens a little peephole, and it's all kind of dark. And he looks through the peephole,
and there's this humanoid snake thing lying on the ground without eyes, right, Mr. Gray? It said the eyes were
black like snake eyes.
No, but also, what word did they use? There was one word there.
I don't know. You know what? I'm
ethereal. Ethereal. The eyes were ethereal.
Oh, right, ethereal. Yeah, right. So that kind of means like dreamlike, doesn't it? Kind of like
not dreamlike. I read that it's meant that they're not there. They're missing.
Not there.
There's not actually any eyes.
Okay.
Because I looked it up to see it. I don't know. Can you look, Mr. Gray? It's just. The word was so baffling. I went to look. It's like to mean that they're not there.
Whatever it was in there, it was distinct. It just let's see if I can find the.
Like holes. Like it didn't have eyes. There was just holes.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I thought it meant like black, like the eyes of a snake. Is what I assumed. I've got a little bit here.
As it looked up to hiss at me, I saw the beady little black eyes that were damnably anthropoid. But I could not
what does that word mean? Because when I looked up, it meant they were not
animals,
there.
No, I don't think anthropoid
means
that. It's human, isn't it? Anthropoid. Is it anthro?
I don't know. From what I looked, it meant like they weren't. I don't know. It's a hard word. Even the explanation was difficult to understand.
Yeah, no. Anthropoid is resembling a human being in form. So they were human-like eyes, but in a snake-looking head.
Okay, yeah.
Anthropoid. I was actually going to read a bit more of that from a little bit further on, but it says almost human inside and entirely devoid of clothing. It was absolutely hairless, and its tawny-looking back seemed subtly squamous in the dim, ghoulish light. Around the shoulders, it was rather speckled and brownish, and the head was very curiously flat. There you go. So yeah, and it's got those little black eyes that you mentioned.
A flat head.
Yes, it's kind of like snake human-looking thing, and that's when he proceeds to tell him.
I always imagined it'd be like if a snake ate a whole human, and then the human kind of wore him like one of those onesies.
Oh my god!
I was kind of imagining that, and because his arms are like trapped to the sides and the legs, I imagine it was lying there like this, moving.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I had in my mind. I was like, yeah, that thing cannot take care of itself. Because they mentioned that they have to go in and clean, and I'm like, are you not afraid? But since it can't really move much, I guess there's.
I mean, it's just like a disfigured kind of humanoid,
a disabled snake, a disabled humanoid snake.
Yeah. Then he goes to tell how it got to be there, and we go back to the story of these two settlers who were traveling from Arkansas.
What were their names?
Walker Davis and his wife Audrey.
Yeah, Walker and Audrey.
Yeah, they left Arkansas.
And how Walker was terrified of snakes.
That's
simply terrified, and he was told he'd be killed by a snake.
That's right. So this was
by
an old woman.
By a witch.
An old Indian squaw.
Shaman.
A dark prophecy about his end, in which an old Indian squaw had tried to scare him when he was small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they left the Arkansas in 1889 to go to the public lands. They also had their dog Wolf with them.
It was an old doggy.
Yeah, and like you say, he was terribly frightened of snakes.
Very.
Snakes called?
And as they were going along the way, as they were going along the way, they were on some rocks, and she on a mountain kind of, and she found like a nest with 4 snakes. 3?
Yeah, or
4.
4.
Just like a little nest of snakes.
It's just a nest of snakes.
She shot all of them.
I know she bashed them in with the back of the gun.
Smashed them with a gun,
them. I thought she shot him first and then bashed him.
Yeah, I thought she shot all of them.
I was at least pretty sure.
She fired, but I just remember she said that she had to wipe off the blood from the back of her improvised bludgeon weapon. I think because she ended up smashing them in.
That's weird. For some reason, I remember that she shot them.
No, she didn't shoot because she didn't want her husband to see that she was killing them.
Yeah, but
only when her husband ends up coming up, and then but
why did the dog go back then if she didn't shoot? I thought the dog heard the gunshots.
No,
the gunshots, and then went to Walker.
No, because if Walker heard the gunshots, he would have come running over. Yeah. Whereas the dog actually got him and brought him over. Yeah,
right. But we forgot that before that they were hearing all these warnings about Yig.
Yeah,
the guy who sees all snake as his children, and if you hurt his children, he'll come and turn you into a snake by biting you.
That was the theory. That was the belief, wasn't it, of the native people?
Yeah.
I've got a bit here. It says it seems that Yig, the snake god of the Central Plains tribes, was an odd, half anthropomorphic devil of highly arbitrary and capricious nature. He was not wholly evil and was usually quite well disposed towards those who gave proper respect to him and his children, the serpents. But in the autumn, he became abnormally ravenous and had to be driven away by means of suitable rites. And that's what happened. As soon as he hears about Yig on the travels, like the local people are like pounding their drums, like it's like and doing various rituals and rites to keep Yig satisfied, keep Yig away. And all the way along their journey, they're being very careful where they camp, because they don't want any snakes to be anywhere near the camp, so they're avoiding rocks. They're avoiding
because Walker is afraid of them.
Yeah,
that's correct.
But then his wife convinces him to go on a rock.
Yeah, at one point there was no one else to camp, so he convinced him to go there, and that's when she finds the nest of baby
rattlers.
Snakes.
Yeah.
Maybe snakes.
But as soon as she kills him and he discovers, he's like.
Oh wait, Mr. Gray, did we mention that he co-wrote the story? Did we say that?
Oh, that's right. No, we've not done the actually. We're gonna have to go at the end, but yeah, he kind of. I think what I read is that this guy called Zelia Bishop gave him the idea.
I thought that was a lady.
No, apparently it was a bloke. I remember reading it somewhere anyway.
I just Zelia. I thought it might be a woman.
It does sound a bit like it does sound a bit. Actually, I did read it somewhere where sure it said it was a bloke. I know it was a lady. What am I talking about? It was a lady. Yeah, I don't know why.
I just thought the name sounded quite feminine.
For some reason, it's a bloke, and I did read it before. It is a lady. Bishop supplied the story idea and some notes, paying Lovecraft to flesh it out in 1928. Bishop then sold the story under her own name to Weird Tales magazine. It was published in November 1929. There you go.
But how did? But still, it ended up under his name.
Well, they discovered later on after when he became famous, they kind of obviously went to find other works of his, and somehow it was known that he'd actually written it, even though in relation with this lady. Apparently, there's two other books that he did with her called The Mound. There's another story, and Medusa's Coil. So the three.
Ooh, Medusa's Coil sounds cool.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that she gave
looks
him
like
the
this
idea,
lady had an obsession with snakes.
Right?
I'm not sure if the mound
Lovecraft had the asylums, she had the snakes.
Maybe I'm not sure if the mound is about snakes, but if we ever get to that one, we'll find out, I suppose.
Is the mound in this one?
I'm not too sure. You'll have to look.
Just a mound of snakes.
Yeah.
Just like
we do. I do have the mound in here. I do have it.
We'll find out about snakes when we get to it then. So all this fear about you, because when his wife,
hi Sharon,
kills the baby rattlers, he's worried for her, isn't he? And he's worried for her, and he's saying, "Yig's gonna get you."
She's the one
he freaks out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And along the course of the rest of their journey, he starts to freak her out slowly.
Yeah, that's right.
As he keeps selling her and bugging her with this stuff and buying all these charms and shit.
Yeah. Talking to witch doctors and tribes people. And I kind of think to myself, do they believe in themselves, or are they just fleecing him for free whiskey? There seems to be like an element of maybe they're like, oh yeah, this will work against whatever you need.
I'm sure some of them probably believed it.
Yeah, I think they do.
Other ones just wanted some whiskey.
Yeah, they're pounding the drums as well, aren't they?
Look at this idiot. Let's just sell him stuff. He's gullible.
Yeah. But so eventually they get to their destination and they set up their new homestead, and everything seems to be going well. They're like meeting with the locals, and they all seem like a friendly, neighborly bunch. And then I think the next phase of the story happens on Halloween. They're having a party on their phone.
No, wait. First, they reach this place.
Yeah.
Where they start building the settlement, and not the settlement. They start building their homes, and there are all these other people. They slowly become a community, and that's where they meet their neighbors who already have a baby.
Right.
And it's through these neighbors, the wife, that they later find out details when she's an old woman, right?
Yeah.
Grandma something.
Rewording what I just said. Yeah. So there was a neighbor lady that later on. Yeah, I think because after what happened, that lady also discovers them, and so that's where he got the story from.
All right, before that, we hear about them. How they start building everything, and the constant drumming. That's what they always hear there.
Yeah,
the constant drumming of the native drum.
Yeah, I think it's because they say that it's in fall. I imagine in fall must be the time when snakes are mainly born, maybe, and that's why Yig gets more angry at that time, or more ravenous. It said, didn't it? So it gets more ravenous during the fall. What is it? I just in the autumn, he becomes abnormally ravenous and had to be driven away by means of suitable rites. So that's why for all the months that they're doing it, the drums are constantly going because they want to appease him. And I'm assuming like maybe October, Halloween, maybe is the end of the period when he's most ravenous, and maybe that's why the drums stop at some point during that night. But what happens in the night, Rina? Tell us what happens in the night.
So they stop off, and she's heading off to bed. And there's also
wait before that, the Halloween party or the party they have. The Gathering.
Right. Yeah, no, I was also going to say we don't want to forget about old Joe and Sally, because Sally ends up being important near the end.
Yeah. No, but also Sally also helps freaking her out by telling her the story of this man that was bitten by a bunch of snakes and exploded.
And he pops, like blood.
Like a pimple. That's one gruesome pinata if you think about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, how much of that is exaggeration? I mean, it's like, could that actually be possible to where somebody's body gets so filled with liquid?
Well, to be fair, it could happen. It could very well happen because when you get bitten by a snake, I know you swell a lot.
Yeah, some poisons swelling.
So that is possible, and considering the time period.
So it's not poison, it's venom. We must say it's venom, not poison.
Venom.
It's
venom,
Point of order. Yeah. So they basically they have this Halloween party. She's already been, when you think about it, he's been poisoning her mind with fear all this time by keeping going.
And the neighbors don't help.
Yeah, and spending money, getting rid of whiskey to get all these charms and
all the drumming also constantly day and night.
Yeah.
Which I think she mentions or it's mentioned twice that Audrey, who is the chick, is maddened by the drums. She really doesn't like it. I think I mentioned that twice. Once
you can't blame her after all the stories her husband been telling her.
Yeah, they grate at her nerves eventually, didn't they? They grate at her nerves. I kind of imagine they're that super loud, but I just imagine they're always there in the distance because that obviously
in the background, always there.
Yeah. So
could be quite maddening after a while.
It was the first night where it was cold as well, wasn't it? It was the first night where it was cold. It'd been warm all the way up
colder.
To summer.
And they just finished their party. Everyone left.
Yeah, and it was the first night.
They went to sleep.
And it was the first night that they lit their fire. It was the first night that they lit their fire in the hearth as well. So what happens next? Does anyone want to go? Do you want to go, Matilda? What happens next?
Yes. Right. So they go to sleep. And then I don't remember. Did they wake up? No, she wakes up, right?
She's the one that wakes up.
She wakes up.
I think he's awake as well.
They both wake up. They hear some noise.
Yes.
They hear some strange noise.
Maybe crickets or something like that.
Yeah, he puts. He gets his hand to get the lantern that's right by the bed. Turns it on, I think, and then they see the snakes, right?
There's just snakes everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, the floor is crawling with snakes, and we don't know what's happened to Old Wolf, but Old Wolf isn't saying anything. So
no, but he lives. I think he's just asleep, but they think he's been bitten.
By the end,
he pops.
He was bitten, I think, right? He's bitten and he's dead.
Yeah,
well, initially they describe it as he's just asleep. Initially, they keep going back.
There aren't
asleep.
Right, because the husband Walker falls. Right, he stands and suddenly
he passes out.
Yeah, he passes out from fear. The wife is lying there, going out of her mind because she's thinking he's probably dead, been bitten all over, about to pop.
Yeah,
she gets movies in her head, and then she's thinking, the snakes are coming for me now, the Curse of Yig. I'm about to return into a snake.
She cowers under the blankets.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after a while, she reaches for the axe. That's on the.
She hasn't reached
on the axe on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, because the drums go out, because that's when she mentions the drums again, and then it goes deathly silent. She's losing her mind, and then finally
ticking of the clock.
Yeah, and finally she looks back out. She peeks back out, and
she's thinking snakes are on the bed now.
Yeah,
but she sees what she believes is Yig.
Something moving by the window.
Yeah, something big is moving, very big. Yeah, just the head and all that. Then she takes an axe and
Yeah, well, because it's been creeping up on the bottom of her bed, and I think it literally describes it as like she went from a crying child to a sudden mad woman, something along those lines. She grabs it and she attacks it. Yeah,
and then we move on to there's a break right there. Where because the doctor's been telling Dr. McNeil tells him the story throughout the day. The narrator's annoyed when they're interrupted sometimes because Dr. McNeil has to tend to his duties. Then they take a short break. It seems like Dr. McNeil has a trouble remembering for a moment.
No, he's like wiping the sweat off of his brow.
And then he goes to the last part of the story.
Yeah.
Where he says that Sally came to visit in the morning. Because she sneezes, there's no smoke from the chimney.
That's
she thinks usually at that time Audrey starts cooking.
Yeah.
So she goes in.
The mules are hungry as well. The mules are hungry and they're not being fed. So
she goes in and the dog is dead. The husband
is
the
dead.
Dog popped. Did I say the dog popped? That was because she heard a popping noise, didn't she, at one point? I thought the dog was one.
No, I think the dog's just been bitten.
No, I'm sure it replayed the thing about the story about the guy popping. I'm sure that they said that happened to the dog. At one point, she heard a pop. I'm sure I remember reading that bit, but it's quite a small.
Yeah. Okay, so near the burnt out fireplace was the great dog, purple decay on the left, on the skin left bare by mange and
old age.
The
whole carcass burst by the puffing effect
of
rattlesnake poison. There you go. Yeah.
Although the cannibal's probably
dead because of the axe. She axed her own husband.
Yeah. And Audrey is lying on the bed looking crazy, right?
Yeah.
She's like hissing. Yeah.
She's lost her. She's
lost her mind.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah,
so
and then
the thing was, he wasn't touched at all. He wasn't touched at all by any snakes. The dog was getting so many times
because of snakes.
Yeah, but
he died because of himself.
Yeah, but also because of snakes in a way, because like the fear of the snakes that they managed to build up between them, the fear that he poisoned his wife with the fear made her she automatically assumed he was dead because of all the snakes that were there and the fact that he fallen.
He was implying that she was the snake.
I wonder why he killed the dog, though.
The snakes.
I wonder why the snakes killed the dog. Like they didn't touch the husband.
No,
maybe because the dog was there with the wife when she killed the snakes.
Maybe. Well, because I thought that was interesting too, because prior to that, they had made it a point to tell you that the dog was just asleep. Like you could hear the dog snoring. He was just rolled over, passed out by the fireplace. And it's not until the morning when Sally finds them that you actually learn that the dog had been attacked. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Did they actually say that he was asleep?
Yeah, but the wife thought that
he's snoring, but he said he's like. I thought he mentioned his snoring, what his snoring was normally like, but he was actually quiet. I think he said something like that. So normally he would make noises.
I thought the wife said that he was bitten.
Yeah,
she was sure that he was bitten.
Sure, who was bitten? The dog or her husband?
The dog. I thought she said that she thought the dog was probably bitten too.
Well, she wasn't wrong.
I think
the dog and the husband. Yeah.
Yeah, but they make it a point to tell you that initially the dog is just like asleep because they mentioned that, he was just blissfully slumbering and, like all this stuff.
Oh,
like,
Sharon, what would be the fun in that?
Yeah, because they mentioned it at 2 different points that the dog was just sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's why for me it was kind of a culture shock when you figure out the dog's actually dead the following morning.
I thought the dog was dead. I was sure he was bitten, so he's probably over.
Yeah. When she's cowering under the bed, like the drums had stopped, she said, then without warning came that shocking, unutterable sound. That dull, putrid pop of cleft skin and escaping poison in the dark. So that was the dog. The dog was already mentioned as dying in the night and it popping. But I thought when she was talking about the snoring that the dog normally did, she was talking about that's what he normally did, but not saying that's what she was hearing. That's what I thought she said. but I can't remember the very.
Yeah, interesting.
He said poor Wolf had not been able to help either. Probably he had not even awakened from his senile stupor. So I think she's saying that he was bitten while he slept and probably died.
Yeah, so he didn't even wake up. He died in his sleep.
Yeah.
Because I remember the dog was dead already.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, and then we reached the last part of the story.
Yeah.
Where they starts to tell him about the wife that she lived at the edge of, and I was like, wait, but wasn't that creature the wife? Because all this time I was certain, holy shit, that's the wife. The wife has been turned into this hideous thing, and then she says that's what she gave birth to, and I'm like,
yeah. Like,
birth
to talk about for a second that she gave birth to 3 snake monsters.
Human things.
Who died.
4. No, it was 4 of them.
Yeah.
4, because the number of the baby snakes that she killed is the number of the baby snakes that she gave back.
Yeah, I think that was the punishment. She and obviously lost her bloody mind as well.
No, you think that's what like what Yig does? Like if it's a woman, then she has to give birth to the number of snakes she killed, but if it's a man, he just turns him into a snake. Because a man can't give birth, but a woman can.
She does get kind of snake-like as well, doesn't she? With the fact she's hissing.
Yeah.
It said,
but instead of fully a snake, she
let me read this
little snakes. Because she's pregnant for 200-something days, less than a year.
No, 9 months, I think it was. I think they said.
He said that was born to her 3/4 of a year afterwards.
3/4 of a year afterwards. So was it? Was she impregnated that night?
I think so. I think so.
Or was it? Yeah, I imagine.
I think Yig did. I think that was his revenge. She'll give him back the baby snakes that she killed.
Yeah, let me read this bit.
That's why I think with women, it's probably might as well use them, I suppose, if you're gonna turn them crazy.
Well, that's definitely one way of getting revenge, isn't it? But let's see, he was talking about the woman. It says, "And wriggling flat on the floor was a loathsome, vacant-eyed thing that had been a woman, but now was only a mute, mad caricature. All that this thing could do was hiss and hiss and hiss." So, she's kind of become a snake in character, if not in actual body. Yeah. But even then, she started with the fact she's crawling on the floor. It's like does she think she's a snake now? Because of because she said she was so convinced that the Yig was going to turn her into a snake that maybe somehow she's her mind has snapped and she just
drove herself to think so. Yeah.
But then her hair goes.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain the birth.
No, of course not. No, of course not. But that's obviously something else. It's probably. We don't know what happened after she killed her husband, do we? Well, because the next thing we know is when she's found in the morning. So who knows what happened to give her?
I think he came in and raped her. Yeah.
Well, possibly. Yeah. It's not mentioned in the story. Probably wouldn't want to mention.
And that's the thing. I was thinking. What made this story feel like a Lovecraft story, but not exactly a Lovecraft story, is how it's not. They say I don't believe all this stuff Dr. McNeil says. But this is the first story where you just have the complete solid proof because you have the babies. Right. You don't just have the story about her looking like a snake and that's it. You actually have a living proof in this one. You have something more solid and not based in an alien kind of creature. And I was like, why does this feel like Lovecraft, but not really Lovecraft? Something was bugging me with this one because it was Lovecraft, but a lot more enjoyable to read.
They're all enjoyable to read. What are you talking about?
They're all interesting, but some of them are frustrating to read.
A little bit more classic kind of horror story.
Yeah.
It was a little bit. It still had parts of Lovecraft, like the asylum and the people investigating stuff, and how
the nameless narrator.
Nameless narrator. Yeah. But it did have that kind of. You think about it, it's the first one you've had not quite a jump scare, but you've had a twist at the end, haven't you? Oh no, that wasn't her.
Wait, that's not her.
That was one of her 4 children that were birthed.
That they bring in the last 3 sentences of the story.
Yeah, shocks you. You're thinking, okay, so that's the wife. That's Audrey there. And I'm thinking, damn, she lived a long time. But also her babies lived a long time. This one, like Dr. McNeil says, doesn't seem to age.
It's not that long after. It's not that long after because it was 89.
No, it is. It is because the woman.
No, let me tell you, Matilda, exactly how long after it is. Because it's not 1889 when they started going from Arkansas to their new place, and this guy's doing his investigations in 1925. So it's like 36 years afterwards. It's not super long afterwards. It's not super long.
So how long is it then?
So I mean, you figure if she had the child, like 9 months after, it's 35 years between when she had the snake babies and when you have your narrator. So I mean, if that snake creature grew at the rate of a human does, I mean that snake creature's only 35.
Yeah.
So I guess that is.
Yeah, but
plausible.
maybe he means that maybe Dr. McNeil meant that he physically didn't seem to change over, because we don't know when he was taken to that asylum. Like what happened to Audrey later? Like where was she taken there? Maybe she was taken there, and that's when she had her babies.
Well, yeah. How else
about it? Something so strange. Like what? No one would hear about this woman. No, they locked her up in the asylum, and hush, hush. The babies were kept in the basement. This is the only one that survived. Because I suppose they don't know
that there was 4 of them rather than 1. Yeah.
So yeah, she must have gave birth. But wait, he doesn't really believe it. But yeah,
what doesn't he believe? He doesn't believe in Yig, or he doesn't say nothing about not believing, does he? He just tells the story.
But Dr. McNeil doesn't believe it, really.
He said it wasn't like magic.
Yeah.
It wasn't magical. It had to be like scientific.
Yeah, because he's a man of science.
But he doesn't seem to be able to really explain to you how it's scientific. Yeah. How did this woman have babies that were half snake?
Yeah.
Well, and it could just be like, you get freaks. Freaks do get born sometimes, but it could, but he's not going to say, unless they've done like, blood samples on it and find that it is actually half snake. But that bit's not really sort of delved into, because you want to have the scare at the end and the twist at the end, and they don't sort of go into any further detail. I mean, did they have blood tests? Were they really half snake, or were they just like, freaks? Maybe caused by her distress in the womb somehow. She's, her agitated.
That's one hell of a womb distress, let me tell you.
Who knows? But it doesn't sort of delve into that. So I suppose it's like,
but still, you'd think he would somewhat. But I think he does believe, because Dr. McNeil is scared.
Yeah, well, because how many times is he like pausing and like wiping off his brow and
he's scared. He doesn't say it outright, but he's scared.
I kind of think as well that he's like happy to tell the story, because like when something like that, and it's like it's like a burden shared kind of thing. He's like, I mean, it's like a mad story like that, you're probably like,
what's going to happen to this creature afterwards? You have to think, because he says he's going to have to start to train new orderlies to clean.
I wonder if he messed up the timeline with that, maybe, because it's only 36 years later. So the kids, the snake baby's only going to be in his mid-30s. But the way you described it, maybe.
Hi, Mr. Dino.
No, I suppose it's not too bad. Hey, hello, Dino.
You see what I mean? Because that made me think, well, how much time passed, really? That he already needs to train new orderlies.
Well, he was probably an older man. Well, it's 30 odd years, I suppose. So it's not like, it's quite a long while. I mean, whoever was there at the time that he first got to the asylum, probably ready to retire now. So, yeah, it's probably just that. And so he's got to get new people in and tell them about it. Because they've kind of kept it secret, haven't they? They're kind of not really Voldemort. Yeah, maybe it's Voldemort. Maybe it's he.
Maybe that's the ancestor of Voldemort, and Yig is actually Slytherin.
They all talking.
Yig is actually Slytherin.
Yeah. Oh dear.
That would explain the lack of nose on Voldemort, though.
Yeah, I think the idea is like, if like they could have like explored it further, but they just wanted to have that nice twist ending, and then you know if nothing else was spoken about. But
what else I found interesting in? Why they haven't tried to kill it?
Oh, because it's not. You can't kill things. You're not allowed to kill children in your charge. I mean, just because they're like strange-looking children.
Yeah, but later on, like, what? How did they care for these snake babies? What did they feed them with? Like, how did they take care of them?
Just throw them a mouse every now and again.
I mean, maybe that's why only one lived. Like,
yeah, maybe that one ate the rest of them.
No, he would have said that if that had been the case, I'm sure.
Nah, you said so yourself. You wanted to give us a twist and disappear.
Yeah, they didn't bother to like tell you about. They said the two of them were even more twisted and even more like freakish than the one that survived.
Yeah.
But,
if by the description of this one, I shuddered to think what the other two looked like.
Well, she kind of went bad as well, didn't she? We didn't sort of get into that much, but her hair went white and then it fell out. So she ended up.
When she was old, when she was getting older.
Well, no, just pretty much quite soon after. I got it quite soon after. Like the shock made her hair turn white, and then when they saw her, she was on her belly slithering. So either her mind snapped and she decided.
Her hair later turned white when she.
Later
before she died, years later.
No, that's not what that's not what I got. I got from like pretty soon after the event. Her hair, as soon as her hair was growing out, it was growing out white.
Yeah, but I understood that was before she died.
Yeah,
because he says, because in the end he tells him, well, before she died.
It was before she died, but not long after she'd got there. I thought. Let me see if I can find the actual part. You guys carry on talking. I'll see if I can find the actual
what I thought. So what did you think, Alexa, about the twist ending?
That shocked me. I did not see that coming at all. I was right there with you. I was like, it's the wife. Like, this is going to be crazy cool. There's going to be something. And then it just like drops that on you and ends. And I was sitting there like.
Yeah, it just says. When talking about her madness, it says, yes, there were some lucid spells at first, but they got to be fewer and fewer. Her hair came white at the roots as it grew. So I just took that as being straight away. From then on, her hair, as it grew from that point.
I thought it was just like years later before she died.
Yeah, they're not going to mention that.
She got older.
Yeah, that happens to everyone, Matilda. People's hair always gets white and grey, so it wouldn't have mentioned it unless it was an unusual thing. So that's what I took it to mean, like straight away. Like,
I thought, it wouldn't be exactly completely straight away. She'd still have to live long enough to give birth to these.
Whereas her hair, as her hair grew, so from that point on, I took it from that point on. Her hair grew and it was white at the roots as it grew up, and then it began to flake.
I thought it was just years later. Because I assume she lived in this asylum. Maybe years later, when she grew older, right before death, she.
Yeah, no, everyone's hair gets white towards the end, so I don't think you'd have mentioned that. Like if it was just a normal part of the aging process, that's why I took it to be.
I don't know.
They wouldn't have mentioned it. You wouldn't say, "Oh, she was 17, she had white hair," because that's obvious. So that's why I took it as meaning like straight away her hair started growing.
I don't know. Because Lovecraft is so clear with everything he writes.
Yeah, they wouldn't have mentioned that her hair became white, like if it was just through age. They'd only mention it if it was an unusual occurrence, as far as I can see. So, and then also her skin.
I don't know. That's just what I got from it. I thought it was. Maybe it was like a year later after she gave birth. Already.
Well, I'm talking it's been more or less straight away because as her hair was growing, so from that point, as her hair grew, they could see it was white at the roots, and suddenly it was all white, and then it all started falling out. That's what I took it as. And also, her skin grew blotchy, so she was turning she started looking more snake-like as well as acting more snake-like. Is what I took from that.
Yig is one vengeful god.
Yeah.
He won't only turn you into a snake, but he'll rape you to add insult to injury.
Well, we can. I didn't say if they would come if they came out of eggs or if they came out from like normally. If she laid eggs, maybe. No, they lay eggs.
I think they do. As you said, she gave birth to them. I assume they came out of the usual canal.
I can't imagine any other purpose. No, any other way. No.
I don't want to imagine any other way.
Well, don't annoy Yig then, Matilda. Don't go killing any blinking unless you want to find out for yourself. Don't go killing any snakes during the autumn months because Yig will.
I won't. I'll leave the snakes alone.
Yeah, and you, Rina, leave the snakes alone because you've seen a couple of snakes. So don't step on any baby ones or anything like that.
I'll keep away from them, I promise.
If AOG sees any snakes, you probably do a dance with them, like, look at my snaky dance.
I'm very good at running the other direction.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best dance move to do if there's a snake
I
around.
think the only woman though please Yig is Medusa.
Yeah,
it's like I'm my kind of lady. Can you imagine the offspring though?
A snake with snake hair. That would be weird.
Yeah,
it's a snake body and snake hair.
Yeah, okay. Hair. That would be something.
Anyone else got anything they want to add to this? I say, did I look? I think I've told you the notes already. There was that he said he wrote it on behalf of the Zelia Bishop.
How the interactions between people are much more in this one. Between Dr. McNeil and the narrator, it feels the conversation feels much more natural than everything we read so far. Because I think that might be the influence of the lady.
Yeah, maybe she said they had this she talks to the asylum, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how it's hard to say how much input she had. It says that she gave the basic idea and some notes. So maybe her notes contained like the people talking to each other.
Story
idea.
I do think she had quite a bit of input just because of how more classic horror this is. No real aliens and stuff, and the conversations are much more natural than what Lovecraft usually does.
And Yig, there's no sort of mention of Yig necessarily being some kind of cosmic horror or some ancient god.
Not at all.
It just seems to be like a belief, it's like a current belief amongst people, just, I don't know, different...
of Native Americans.
Yeah, Native Americans.
Well, like how just like normal snakes too. I mean, like if you look at like the
Dagon, like a snake god, almost like
because like if you look at
like a regular god.
Yeah, because if you look at Dagon or even like Cthulhu, they have like their own sub worshippers, whereas like Yig is just like snakes. These are
how Yig is common. It's like not this like evil, like this very ancient evil god that has these sub-cults that keep secret. This is out in the open.
Yeah.
Slightly more, but that's true. And also, he's not really. He's mentioned he's not really like an evil god or like
not necessarily.
Unless you
just in the season where he gets a bit excited. Be careful.
And they talk about at one point about there being another god that there was like as Yig was to snakes, this other god was to humans. I can't remember what it was called now, but it was something to do with.
Maybe today, but I think there was one.
Yeah. There's another bit I was going to read out. It says, Yig was a great god. He was bad medicine. He did not forget things. In the autumn, his children were hungry and wild, and Yig was hungry and wild too. All the tribes made medicine against Yig when the corn harvest came. So I don't know if this, I wonder if, I don't know much about snakes, but do they normally give birth in the autumn? Does anyone know? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know the mating season of snakes, but I did see how snakes mate.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was quite the sight on TV, of course. A sight on TV.
Don't they all like?
Hey, you don't need Pornhub. Just watch the Nature Channel.
Yeah, the snakes not like form like mating like all loads of snakes together. All sort of is that how?
No. I mean just two of them.
Okay.
Yeah, late summer and fall. Snakes that lay eggs have babies that hatch late summer and fall.
Right.
Those that do not lay eggs hold their babies in the body and give live birth in late summer or fall.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, kind of.
That's interesting.
I guess that's the season Yig has his pregnancy hormones.
I'm guessing as well that possibly they're more dangerous in them periods because they're protective of their young, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like a hibernation thing. I was thinking maybe like hibernation, like how like bears will just like eat, like their entire body weight so they can sleep through winter.
I mean, can't imagine hibernate?
I don't honestly know. I mean, considering we get snow, 6 months out of the year here in Colorado, and a lot of our rattlers live up in the foothills, I would imagine have to hibernate. Yeah.
Yeah, snakes hibernate, right? Well, I know they don't like the cold because they're cold-blooded. They need warmth.
Yeah. Maybe they just bury underground. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look up. Do snakes hibernate? I've never heard of them, but I never heard of it. But let's have a quick look. Do snakes hibernate in the wintertime?
I need to look for vegan Medusa fan fiction.
It is commonly thought that snakes.
Well, imagine the babies, really.
It is commonly thought that snakes also hibernate because we don't see much of them in the colder months, but this assumption is mistaken, it says, and could lead to unexpected and likely unwanted snake run-ins. So no, they don't actually hibernate.
I don't know how they would hibernate because they're not mammals. I don't think they can store fat.
No,
right? They can't store fat. They have to
probably
just when they eat.
They probably just come out a lot less. Maybe they probably have like a big dinner before, and they can go a few weeks, can't they, without eating if they've eaten big enough, can't they? They've eaten a big enough meal, so maybe they like have a little bit of fat reserves and sort of stay indoors as much as possible. Anyway,
maybe.
What is it? They have what's it? It's the Dunwich Horror now, isn't it? Next week.
No, the Dunwich Horror.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Sorry, Mr. Grad. I only heard the last word.
I think because I always say Dunwich, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Dunwich. I've heard it's pronounced Dunwich. It looks just like Dunwich, but
it looks like
Dunwich.
I just immediately called it Dunwich.
Yeah, I always did as well.
Dunwich.
I have heard
Dunwich.
Yeah, Dunwich. All right, but I think it's supposed to be pronounced Dunwich. But anyway,
Dunwich. Dunwich. You don't pronounce the W then?
Apparently not. No, because there's certain other place names that have that kind of spelling. We don't pronounce the W, but
okay, Dunwich. Dunwich Horror.
Yeah, just say Dunwich. We all know what we mean.
Yeah, all right. I'm like Elric. I need Mr. Gray's assistance in reading.
We've got now. I used to Dunwich as well because it looks like Dunwich, but I only read it somewhere else.
I just thought it's Dunwich, really.
Yeah. I think we've got Naya Lafatep in this one, maybe, and we've got we've got a shub-niggurath, the black goat of the woods of 1,000 young. We've got lots of good monsters in this one coming up. So hopefully you'll enjoy this one.
Wait, Nigel's not a monster exactly, is he?
He is, yeah. He's definitely a monster.
No, Nigel's just a very mysterious Egyptian man.
That's just one form that he looks like.
With an American name, Nigel.
No, that's just one of his aspects. I don't know, but that's just one of his aspects. He doesn't always look like he did in that one. He's a shapeshifter. He can look like various other things as well. That's just one of his looks, apparently.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, our next story is really long, like really fucking long.
Right.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I mean, it's like long. In my book, it starts from page 103 all the way to page 140.
Okay.
Wow.
It's quite a long one. It's quite a long story.
Luckily for me, I have another Lovecraft book which has this story, but the book is much smaller, so I'm going to that one.
Right. It's still be the same length of story though, Matilda.
Yeah, but I'll fool my eyes by not having to read this thing. I'll show you just how small the font here is.
And I'll put you on full screen. Yeah, I'm reading it online. It's quite small font on the online page as well that I'm reading it on.
Yeah, but the book I have, the font is much bigger. The other one. So it'll make it. I think it'll make it easier. With Lovecraft, you need the big letters because it fools you that you're reading more. As reading the long stories here feels like they last forever.
Yeah, they can. They seem to last quite a while. But yeah. Anyway, so we'll be back then for next week. Next week, Dunwich Horror. Is everyone going to be able to make it next week? Do you know, or you got any appointments?
Actually, I don't know yet.
All right, cool.
I hope you will, ladies. All right, so next week, the Dunwich Horror.
The Dunwich Horror.
Dunwich.
Yeah,
we'll find out what it means when we read it. Bye.
It's just the name of the town. Dunwich is the name of the town in the.
I didn't know that.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Come back next week.